Yeah, he said generally it would be no problem for me to come and speak to that minyan, but it just so happens that it's one of these rare occasions that there's a bar mitzvah there, so he's actually speaking at the teen minyan that shop.
That's a 9. Oh well.
So I'm not going to walk an hour across town to not speak.
Understandable.
Anyway, okay, here we go. So this week's parsha is a good parsha to talk about angels, because it's the most prominent story in the Torah, or maybe in all Tanakh, involving angels, because these three men who turn out clearly to be angels. The Torah itself, even though it says that the whole 3 men were coming, but this is a situation where it's not just like Chazal who tell us that the 3 men were actually angels. The Torah itself later on refers to them as angels, and it's also pretty clear from what they do. Like they're foretelling that Yitzchak is going to be born, and they're doing things that clearly would imply they're angels. And of course, as I said, later on when they get to Sodom, the Torah says explicitly that they're malachim. So we have this the story of angels in this week's parsha, and right at the beginning of the parsha, when the 3 angels, the 3 men first make an appearance, there's a long Rashi where Rashi explains. Rashi's dealing with the question, why do you need to have 3? Why did there have to be 3 angels? As Rashi's dealing with that question, and I'll read you that Rashi because it's going to be the jumping off point for a number of ideas about angels. Okay, here we go. There's 2 parts to this shir. We're first going to deal with the aspects of angels that emerge from this Rashi and from this week's parsha, which is a number of aspects of angels. We'll use that to talk a little bit about what angels are. And then once we've got that basic definition of angels down, based on that information, we're then going to turn to the Rambam. The Rambam in Hilchot Yesodei Torah in the 2nd parak has an extensive discussion of angels, 10 different kinds of angels, and what their names, and we'll go through that section and try to understand even more from that section about how the world of angels works and what their role is in the world. Okay, that's the shir. So on the 2nd pasuk of the parsha, it says Avram picked up his eyes vayar, and he saw v'hinei shlosha nashim nitzavim alav. Behold, there were 3 men standing over him. So Rashi says as follows: why were there 3? Echad levaser et Sarah. 1 to foretell Sarah, to foretell that Sarah would have a child. Ve'echad lahafoch et Sodom, and 1 angel to overturn Sodom. Ve'echad lerapot et Abraham, and 1 to heal Avram. Now, why do you need 3 different angels to do these 3 different things? So Rashi goes on and explains. She'ein malach echad oseh shtei shlichut. What's wrong there? Because one malach cannot do 2 tasks. Have you ever heard this before? That one malach can't do 2. That's where Rashi says it. That's what makes it famous. So apparently, a malach can only do 1 thing. So therefore, since there were 3 tasks, the 3 tasks, again, let's review. The 3 tasks are healing Avram, foretelling that Sarah was going to have a child, and overturning Sodom. So therefore, God had to send 3 malachim. Okay? So there's a little piece in the middle that doesn't really relate. It's a long Rashi. And then Rashi says, Urifael, Shiripayat Avraham, and Raphael, who healed Avram from his Brit Milah, Halach Misham Lahatzilat Lot. He went from there to save Lot. Time. You just said that a malach can't do 2 jobs. And now you're telling me that one of the malachim, the malach who healed Avram is not going to go save Lot. So what possible answers could there be? Yeah? Type of job. Saving Lot. What? Can't do it at the same time. But if it can't be at the same time, then we would still only need 2 angels. Because 2 of the jobs are happening at Avram's house, telling Sarah and healing Avram. 2 of the jobs are happening in Sodom, saving Lot and overturning Sodom. So if it was a different place or a different time, like you finish one job, you can then get assigned a new assignment. If that's the issue, then we haven't answered the question. You still only need 2 angels. You follow the problem? That's the right. If an angel can only do 1 job, so there's 4 jobs here. Right? There's healing Avram, telling Sarah, overturning Sodom, and saving Lot. So you should have 4 angels. If one of them can do 2 of those jobs, so you only need 2 angels, because 2 of the jobs are in one place, 2 of the jobs are in another place. The 2 jobs are done, and the other 2 jobs happen. So that doesn't make any sense either. Got it? Got the problem we have here? And Rashi identifies also the name of the angel who healed Avram as Raphael. Okay, and that Raphael, that same angel who healed Avram, went ahead and saved Lot. Okay, so Rashi seems to be self-contradictory, as we say in Gemara. Hal gufa kasha. The text itself is difficult. The text itself is self-contradictory. Right? It's an expression in the Gemara. So, in other words, like Rashi's great. An angel can only do 1 job. Oh yeah, and one of the guys, when he was done, he did a 2nd job. Okay, so we need to sort that out. Now, Gemara Bava Metzia. Much. The Gemara Bava Metzia also discusses this story, Daf Pei Vav Amud Bet, and it goes sort of line by line through it. A lot of famous chazals about it. And it says here as follows: Man ninhu shlosha anashim. Who were Man ninhu? Who were they? Who were the 3 men, 3 malachim? So it says here Michael, the Gavriel, the Raphael. Okay? Everyone's 3 favorite malachim: Michael, Gavriel, and Raphael. Okay? Michael sheba levaser et Sarah. Michael came to foretell that Sarah was going to have a kid. So now in this Gemara we actually get what the names of the other ones. Rashi only mentioned Raphael by name. Now Rashi's giving us the other names also. I'm sorry, the Gemara is giving us the other names. That Michael was the one who came to tell them that Sarah was going to have a child. Raphael sheba l'rapeh et Avraham. Raphael was the one, as Rashi told us, who came to heal Avraham. Gavriel azal l'mahapche l'sdom. And Gavriel was the one who went to overturn Sodom. So the Gemara then says, wait a second, v'haktiv vayavau shnei malachim Sodoma. Later on it says, like they leave Avram's house, there's 3 of them. But when they arrive in Sodom, it says 2 of them arrived. So Rashi on the spot in the Chumash says, well, yeah, because one of them had no more job to do. He went home. He went back to headquarters. The 2 who continued are Gavriel, who went to destroy Sodom, and who went to go save Lot? Raphael. So the Gemara asked, so what does it answer? You ready for this? Da'azal Michael behadei l'shaz ve'lelot. That because Michael went along with Gavriel to save Lot. What's the problem? That's not Raphael. Rashi said that Raphael went to save Lot. The Gemara here in Bava Metzia says that Michael went to save Lot. These are great machlokas. Now Rashi is not making it up, meaning it's not like Rashi versus the Gemara. That can't happen. Rashi is quoting the Gemara, the Midrash Rabbah. We actually have a machloket in Chazal. We have a machloket between the Midrash Rabbah and Bereshit Rabbah and the Gemara Bava Metzia as to who saved Lot. Raphael or Michael? Lovely machloket. B'mai k'miflagi. What does that mean? What are they arguing about? What kind of argument is that? Arguing about who saved Lot? So let's understand something about malachim. You notice that these malachim, their names all end in El. And most malachim, unless they have some sort of odd Greek or Persian name, which there are a few, generally malachim, since you're generally, all malachim, other than the ones who have odd Greek or Persian names, have... Oh, you have the book on the malachim? Oh, cool. Malachim Elyon by Reuben Magalios. Malachim's names very often end in El. Okay? Yeah?
How can you argue about something like that? You physically can't tell which...
It's a ridiculous... That's what I'm saying. So we have to understand what Chazal mean by this argument. Like what... We have to understand... We're going to be more sophisticated. And we're going to say like... What... This isn't history books. Like, oh, we have a conflict. No, what this means is there's something... Whatever this means, that this malach or that malach saved Lot, there's some sort of dispute going on. In ideas. We have to figure out what it is. We'll get there, okay? Bear with me. You're thinking along the right lines. Okay? Here we go. Malachim's names end in El. Why? Raphael, Gavriel, Michael. There's a malach mentioned in the Zohar in Parshas Balak named Yophiel. Yophiel was responsible for the text of the Torah. He's the malach who was responsible for dictating to Moshe Rabbeinu the exact text of the Torah. Funny Zohar over there. That's a different shir. Then there's another malach, Samael. Ever hear of him? Anyone ever hear of Samael? He's a bad dude. He's the guy with the black leather jacket who, you know. What? Played by Marlon Brando, young Marlon Brando. Anyway, he's a tough dude. Samael, he's a bad guy. Samael. We'll talk about him in a moment also. So malachim tend to have these names. Raziel. Ever hear that one? Raziel. There's all these malachim. Now, what do these names mean? The reason malachim have these names is that what a malach is. So in this shir, I'm sort of giving the answer first. A malach is a messenger of God. God's a unity, right? God's a total unity. The good, the bad, everything comes from God. In order for... How does God interact with this world? This world is not a unity. This world, there's all sorts of different disparate things. Okay? There's people get sick and people get healed. Those are two opposite forces. Right? So God heals them, God makes them sick, and God heals them. So functioning in this world, which has so many different things going on, when God functions in this world, God is taking himself, which is a total unity, and focusing only the way we see it. There's this aspect or that aspect, or this thing happens, or that thing happens, or this thing happens, which are details, and God is a total unity. God doesn't... Some specific little thing happens, you can say that's God. It comes from God. A malach is godly energy, as it were. Godly energy that is directed at a particular purpose. I'm going to say that again. It's God's energy, it's the way God functions in this world, designed when God is sort of concentrating godly energy to do something specific. So we'll call that God carries it out through what we'll call a malach. Okay, if you could picture as an analogy that God is the sun. My rabbi said that the sun is our God. No. As an analogy that God is the sun, okay, and like if you were to sort of concentrate the light, or like to pick out a particular ray of the light that's shining on a particular spot, that's like a malach. It's just a specific aspect. So therefore, the malachim's names are actually reflect that as well. So Raphael literally means God heals. or this malach. Why is my phone ringing at this time of night? Sorry, it's actually pretty important. Okay. Done. So Raphael means God heals. Notice, and that's Davka why in the names it includes the name of God, to make sure that we understand this fact that Malachim are actually just extensions of God's will. They're sort of manifestations of God's will in the specific, which almost sounds like a paradox. God can't be specific. But in the way God carries things out, we'll say that a Malach did it. So whenever there's big nisim in the Torah, like Kriyat Yamsuf or punishing people or wars, along will come Chazal and say, Gabriel did this, Michael did this, as a way of zeroing in on a particular aspect of God being carried out in the world. Akiva, you've had your hand going up and down and up and down. Is there something I said you don't understand, or you wanted to add something? What's the deal? Okay, so then save it for later, okay? Because, what? You understand something, that's fine, that you can ask. I just don't want to, because otherwise it just gets sidetracked. Yes, sorry,
I don't
Akiva.
understand where the line is between saying that something is part of God's thing and saying it's a separate aspect of God. Like how do they relate with each other?
What do you mean?
Like why is that different than saying like this part of
Because where do we have God, where do we actually have God doing anything physical in the world? Other than the creation story, and Mamad Har Sinai, and Makat Bechora, where Davka says that it was God, like we say in the Haggadah, Niva Lo Malach, like it was, which was like a chiddush, although it's contradicted by a pasuk in the Torah, because it refers to the mashchit, right? But generally, Chazal will very often take like nisim. That's why I said Chazal will take big nisim like Kriyat Yamsuf, and then attribute them to a certain malach, because it's Chazal's way of saying, look, of course everything comes from God. So when there's a specific thing carried out in the world, we'll say that God did it through a certain agent, a shliach. Well, we'll talk about why the one and like why a malach can only do one job, and talk about that soon. It'll become clear why soon. Okay, let's first just get our definition clear. We're going step by step. A malach is like God energy that is focused on a specific task. Okay? Specifically focused, specific enough that it gets too distant from the oneness of God to be called God in our terminology. But it's basically God doing something in the world. Okay? No, what's the problem? If a ray of light, look,
but it's not
if the sun was shining outside, okay, and we were all in like, we're like homeless people and we're living in a big refrigerator box, okay? You and I are sitting in a big box, and it's sunny outside, and I took a screwdriver and I stabbed the ceiling of this refrigerator box, and there's now a hole, and a ray of light comes shining through that hole. If I looked at that ray of light as it came in, with all the dust in it and everything, I look at that ray of light and say, that's the sun. Is that an accurate statement? Well, yes and no. If I point to the sun and say, that's the sun, it's about as accurate as this, because all I'm really pointing to is a much bigger ray of light. Right? What's the difference? Because when something gets distant from its source enough that it can get, even though it really is the same thing, and if I follow that ray of light back towards the sun, at some point I'm going to stop calling it a distinct ray of light and start calling it the sun. It's really just a semantic issue of it's an issue of words, how I describe something. But the fact is that this ray of light is the sun, but it's distant enough and separate enough that I would refer to it as separate. Does this make sense?
in essence it is the sun.
It's God's. These are God's tools. These are God's agencies, and that's why we say that they have no free will. They're not independent beings. They're sort of they're these extensions
We said they can't do certain things, like they can't.
We'll describe. Yeah. Okay.
That ring of light is actually made up of different, like if you were to put a prism in there, it would split up into different colors.
That might be a better analogy. Okay, good. That might be a better analogy. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Now, let's get to some of these names. Okay, let's talk about the names for a second. So Raphael is the healer of God. Samael. Anyone know what the word Samach Mem Aleph means? What? No. Semel means that. You're close. But Samael's name is spelled Samach Mem Aleph Lamed. Samael. Samach Mem. Sama. Anyone know what a summa is in Aramaic? A blind person. Very good. Samael means. Yeah. Now that's why he's the evil guy. What is he? He makes God less visible in the world. When there's a lot of evil going on, we would say that that's the work of Samael. That's what happens when people are doing bad things. If they're bad enough, you know what starts happening? People start saying, "Where's God?" The Holocaust, right? Where was God? Right? God's where He always was. But when things get evil, obscures God's presence. Good reveals God's presence. So Samael is the angel associated with the concealment of God. Okay, which is evil. Michael, interesting name. Michael. What does that word mean? Who is like God? Great, it's actually a word. Michael, who's like God. What's Michael reserved for? He's reserved for things that are clearly supernatural. When there's something that's from the standpoint of that is generally from Chesed, there's another angel that's also supernatural that is associated with the supernatural, with Nisim. But Michael is generally associated with Nisim that have to do with Chesed. That meaning they're Nisim that are not just like they're not associated with Din or God's might. They're more associated with like, wow, you got to be God to pull that one off. Like that's amazing. Like God, wow. So Kriyat Yamsuf, Michael. Okay, who is like God? Okay, Michael. Who other than God could pull something like that off? Michael, something that's so clearly beyond nature. So that's why Michael, what's his role in our parsha? His initial role. Let's forget the machloket for a second. We'll get back to it. What's his role in our parsha?
Creating a child.
Not creating a child, but he's the one who's informing or bringing that blessing of Sarah, a 90-year-old woman, having a baby. Overt supernatural, whoa, chesed. That's Michael. Okay? Raphael, he's the healer. Raphael, the healing power. It's supernatural, but it's not chesed. It's supernatural din. So I said there are two angels that are associated with Nisim and supernatural. The other one is Gabriel. Gabriel is a very interesting angel. Because he plays a number of different roles. Gabriel essentially has two roles. Okay, he occasionally, there are occasional Mamarei Chazal that deviate, but when one looks at them carefully, they actually fit into these two templates. Gabriel is associated with Midah Hadin, punishment of the wicked, and he's also associated with fire. Even when it's good, like he's the one who teaches Moshe Rabbeinu how to make the menorah. He's associated with fire and light and din. The truth is that those two ideas are connected. They're connected through the concept of emet, because din is emet, chesed is a compromise of emet. Should I explain that concept? Chesed is a compromise of emet because if you work for me for 10 hours at $10 an hour and I pay you $100, is that din or chesed? It's din. Good. Chesed would be if I tipped you. Why is that a compromise on emet? Because it has nothing to do with the deal. If I committed a crime that brings a punishment of a year in prison, and the judge gives me a year in prison, that's din. If he lets me off the hook because of whatever reason, that's chesed. That's a compromise of emet. I did a crime that brings a year of prison, and I'm not doing a year of prison. If God doesn't punish a sinner, it's nice, it's chesed, but it's a compromise on emet. Okay? Emet is associated with din. So whenever you're learning these spiritual ideas, emet and din go together. They're very connected to each other. And emet is also associated with light and fire. Fire purifies things. It separates good and evil, impurities and purities. So fire and din are associated with each other and also associated with emet. This is we have a whole separate chair just on Gavriel, which might be interesting. But a lot of interesting chazals. We go through all the chazals in Gavriel. Maybe we'll do that one time. We go through every Mamre Chazal about Gavriel. Just learn about him. But basically, Gavriel is from the word Gvura. Gavriel, right? It's power. It's might. But power, not much power to do great miracles, but power like when the force of God is felt. For fire, for truth, for justice. Okay, that's Gavriel. So he's going there to overturn stone. Because that's a din type of job, bringing punishment upon the wicked. Okay? That's Gavriel's job. Yeah, so we're not going to go every malach in the world. There's a wonderful book by Rav Reuven Margaliot. Passed away in 1973. Great Talmud Chacham. Wrote over 60, 70 books, something like that. Tremendous writer. And he wrote a book about names of angels called Malachei Elyon. He wrote a lot of really cool books. I think later in the year we'll talk about him some more. But Shimshon has a copy if you're interested in names of angels. It's a cool topic. In any event, we're not going to go through all the names. For our purposes, let's first deal with the machloket about who saved Lot, and then we'll talk about the question, and then we'll talk about this issue of why an angel can only do one job. It actually should become clear at this point. When it says that an angel can only do one job, it means that an angel. Let's take Raphael, for example. If Raphael is the healing power of God, then it's ludicrous to say when Raphael's done healing someone, he can then go do something that doesn't involve healing. Because if Raphael is doing something not involved healing, then that's not Raphael anymore. Because Raphael is the healing power of God. So if something other than healing is happening, it's simply not Raphael. So when we say that an angel can only do one job, what it means is that an angel it's because the whole purpose of angels is when God has to do something specific and narrowly defined, which makes it very separate from the oneness of God, because it's a very narrowly defined specific thing in the world. That's called an angel. That's God's energy being narrowly defined. So to say that an angel could be multifaceted is just nonsense. It doesn't mean anything. All you're saying is God's multifaceted. Once we get down into the specifics, so it's specific angels. So if an angel that healed then did something else, and then it's just a different angel, it's a different godly energy. The godly energy of healing is what we call Raphael, the angel Raphael. The godly energy of bringing justice to the wicked is called Gavriel. The godly energy which manifests itself in fantastical miracles that blow our minds is Michael, if they involve chesed, etc., etc., etc. So to say that an angel could do two disparate things is just meaningless. It goes against the definition of an angel. Okay? So now, what's the machloket about? Who saved Lot, Michael or Raphael? You should be able to write the ending yourself now. The machloket is about what was the saving of Lot. Was it more of a healing type of thing, or was it more of a chesed, miracle type of thing? Which was it? Now, it was actually both. You could define it either way, yes?
How can it be both?
No.
Sick at all? Like, is it...
You're asking Akashi, you don't like the Medrash Rabbah that Rashi quotes that says it's Raphael. Why would Rashi say that? Healing. Because healing is like saving people. Why did Rashi like the Medrash Rabbah better than the Gemara Bava Metzia? I don't know. Maybe Rashi felt that there was no specific miracle in the saving of him.
Well,
because what miracle was done as Lot was saved? He was pulled out of there. He ran away.
Right, but he could have been, his whole family could have been killed. Just like
yes, but Michael, again, Michael is usually like things that go against nature. The miracles in like the classic sense of miracles. Splitting of the sea, Sarah giving birth. These are miracles. And it could be that Rashi didn't like the idea of defining it as a miracle, because what miracle happens? What supernatural salvation of Lot is there? It could be, listen, you're fine. You can go with the other side. I'm just saying, I'm pointing out to
You
you.
could take as he's leaving, you could take as his wife turning into a pillar of salt, that unnatural thing, and it's a sign.
Yeah, but that doesn't save him. His wife turning into Bill Sharp doesn't
It's a
save
sign
him.
that it's good that he should have played when he left.
Yeah, but it's a sign. But again, where's the actual miracle that saves him? That's probably what's bothering Rashi. On the other hand, what's bothering, if you want to side with, if you're like Joey and you don't like viewing it as Raphael, then you're going to say, okay, no. Healing, like what's it closer to? Is it closer to a miracle or closer to an act of healing? Where's the healing? So either way you're stuck. So the Gemara seems to lean one way and the Medrash Rabbah leans the other way. My goal isn't to like take a vote and decide which is right and wrong. It's Chazal pointing out that there's some vagueness about the nature of the saving of Lot, and perhaps they're arguing about what the main focus of the saving of Lot was. Was it a great act of chesed? Or was it some sort of, is saving people from harm always in a category of healing?
And the citizens of Sodom, when they were trying to kill Lot, were stricken with blindness. So,
Again, that
would
doesn't.
that be? I know. Would that be?
Is that
more,
the saving?
and
Okay,
is that
I don't know.
for which-
You know what? We could argue it out. My goal was just to use this to help us understand what angels are and how they function. You could sit there making diyukim, and you could, if you were on a debating team and I told you argue for the side that it's Raphael, you could come up with arguments, right? If I told you to argue for the side that's Michael, you could come up with arguments, right? Good. So you can have the argument yourself. You can sit down and argue with yourself. And that's not my interest here. I wanted to use this as an entryway to this whole topic of what an angel is and how an angel works. So now we have a better understanding of why an angel. It's not that an angel can only do one job because it's some sort of rule, like that they like in a contract. They can only do like union people. Like, I can only do one job. Sorry, man, I'm done. I'm out of here. No, it's not that. It's they can only do one job because definitionally, that's just what they are. They are a specific God energy designed to carry out a specific task. So that's what they're doing. Okay, there's an excellent description of angels, by the way. Have any of you ever heard of the book, The 13-Petaled Rose? You heard that book? It's a phenomenal book written by Rav Adin Steinsaltz, one of the great thinkers today. It's in English, The 13-Petaled Rose. He's written books in other languages also. And it's a book of essays about Judaism. The first essay is an essay called, they're on all different topics in Judaism. It's a very accessible, very easy read book. You don't have to know a lot of background. Get a hold of this book, it's wonderful. I used to have a copy of it, I'd bring it in if I still had it, but I think it's gone. I think I lent it to someone years ago and it's gone. But the first essay, if I remember correctly, I haven't seen it in at least 10 years, the first essay in the book is called Worlds, and in that essay there's a few pages that he devotes to angels, and it's very, very good. I just remember this. It's a good book. Anyway, so that's our basics of the basics of what an angel is. That it's a God energy directed to a specific purpose. That's what it is. And that makes sense why an angel can't do two jobs. And there's another law that's not another rule about angels that isn't stated in this Rashi, but it's stated elsewhere, that no two angels can have the same job, which also makes sense now, because like it's meaningless to say that two things. This is going to be important to understand what we're going to do in the Rambam now. If you're talking, you can't have two identical things that are not physical. Let me say that again. You cannot have two identical things that are not physical, but they still remain two. Let me explain. These bowls are identical. I mean, not anymore because they're dirty, but when they were clean, these are two identical bowls. The idea of this bowl and the idea of this bowl are not two different things. You understand what I mean? If you saw the plans that the engineer who designed this bowl made, you couldn't say that there's a different set of plans for this one that just look exactly the same. It's just a photocopy. It's the same thing. The idea is the same. Another way to put it is like this. Let's say I said to you, I'm going to tell you a mathematical theorem, a geometrical theorem. The square of the sum of the squares of the two sides of a right angle are equal to the square of the hypotenuse. It's called the Pythagorean theorem. Everyone learned it in school? Good. Okay, now I'm going to tell you I'm going to tell you another theorem. You ready? The sum of the squares of the two sides of a right angle are equal to the square of the hypotenuse. It's called the Pythagorean theorem. The fact that I said it twice doesn't make it two different theorems. It's just a fact. It's an idea. So you can't have, in the world of ideas, once you're outside of the physical realm, you cannot have two identical things coexisting. Does that make sense? Because there aren't two of them. It's just an idea. It doesn't make any sense. Again, it's not a rule, it's an axiom, it's just a fact. So to say that, oh, there's two Raphaels, let's say there's two angels that heal. That's meaningless. There's the healing power of God, it's called Raphael. But, okay, there's also the healing power of God, it's called Raphael. Like, it doesn't mean anything. You can't have two angels doing the same thing. Because they're not two of them anymore, it's just that's the healing power of God. You follow what I'm saying? Okay? So we're dealing with spiritual beings, and therefore each one is unique. You cannot have, again, it's an important idea. This is an idea that's also in Aristotle. I believe it appears in Poetics, Aristotle's Poetics, which has nothing to do with poetry. It's just a word he used for logical structures. Where he discusses, he mentions this as well. You cannot, in the non-physical realm, the realm of ideas, you cannot have, which is why there can't be two gods. Because if you have an all-powerful being,
It can't be matched by the same thing.
then you can't have another all-powerful being. What would separate them? The only way to have them separate would be if they were actually physical and there was some space between them. But once you posit that they're not physical and they're identical, then there's just one of them. It doesn't make any sense. So once you're dealing in the non-physical world, there's no such thing as two separate identical ideas. Two separate identical ideas are just the same idea and you thought about it again. Or you said it again, or whatever, you photocopied the piece of paper it was written on. It doesn't mean anything. An idea, okay? You understand what I'm saying? A concept, there's no such thing as two identical concepts. It's nonsense. Okay, everyone gets that, right? Good. It's an important philosophical, logical idea. Alrighty. And it's good for us to know because of what we're about to read. Okay. The Rambam in Hilchot Yesodei Torah in the second parak. Okay, the first two prakim of the Rambam in Hilchot Yesodei Torah deal with how God and the existence of God and how the spiritual world is set up. And the Rambam there spends a couple halachot a couple pieces talking about malachim. So he starts off saying essentially what I've just said. So this will make. I'll read you the whole thing about malachim. Mahu zeh shanavim omrim sharu hamalach eishu v'al knafayim. What do the prophets mean? What do the Nevi'im mean when they say that they saw a malach who was made of fire or who had wings? That's all riddles. That's all euphemism and a language of prophetic vision. They just don't have physical wings. They don't have feathers on them. They don't have wings. What does that mean? They have wings. Lomar she'eino guf. What it means is that they're weightless. That they don't have. That they have vertical movement. That they go up. That they have no body. To say that they're fire means they have no body. Means they're just pure energy. And that they have no weight. They have no mass. So it means they have wings. There's things that have negative gravity. They have no mass. Right? You with me? So that's what it means. It's a mashal. Now he asks the question that I was just referring to with the example of the bowls or the Pythagorean theorem. How could they be separate from each other if they don't have bodies? He says the only way to be separate from something in the non-physical world is to actually be a different idea. To be different. You cannot be identical in the world of ideas. Each one of them is below the level of the one above it, and this is not below in space. Remember, they have no physical mass. And they all exist. Each one is beneath the one above it, and they're all from the power of God. Right, like my light shining down. So if we could do it in stages, we could have the rays of light coming down, and coming further down, and then they're far enough away from the sun that they're identified not as the sun but as a ray of light, and then we refract them through a prism, and we divide them into different colors, and it's getting further and further and more distant. So to call like a strip of indigo light that's coming through a prism from a ray of light that comes through my refrigerator box, and to say that's the sun is already many steps removed. We wouldn't say that's the sun, even though ultimately, if I follow it back to its source, it is. That indigo light came through the prism from that ray of light, and that ray of light came from the ray of light shining down on this box, which ultimately came from the sun. Right? So let's take that analogy now to angels. So the Rambam says, when I say that an angel is below the level of the one above it, I'm not talking about space. Like a person sitting above someone else, like on a stage, like a level above. Rather, I'm referring, like when we say, what's wrong? What happened? Did I say something?
No.
Rather, like when we talk about two chachamim, and we say that one is bigger than the other. We don't mean bigger. We mean greater. In wisdom. We mean that he's on a higher level, wisdom-wise. Or another example is, like we say about a cause, that it is above the effect. We don't mean above necessarily in time, we mean in causation. X causes Y. It doesn't necessarily imply time, but it implies a relationship of prior and subsequent. Okay? Now, he's going to now go through the names of the malachim. I'm going to go through these pretty quickly, just because it's very hard. There's all kinds of, I don't know what the spiritual meaning behind these things is, but it's worth, even though there's a limit to how well we can understand them, the Rambam still felt that he could put into the Mishnah Torah the list of these names. So even though I'm not going to fully understand them, at the very least we can do our best to see a pattern. Okay? So there are 10 levels of malachim, and he's going to start from the highest level, the one closest to God. Remember, he's saying that God sits atop the whole system, and then there's the levels of malachim. That's what he said. Okay? The top one are called Chayot HaKodesh. How would you translate Chayot HaKodesh? Holy animals? Holy lives, perhaps? Right? Something to do with life? Chaya? Right?
Holy Chayos.
Holy Chayos, right, because the word Chaya, holy beings, holy lives, okay, but there's something to do with holy. That's separate, right? Because Kodesh means separate. Good. That's also true. Good. Excellent. Next one are called Ofanim. Now, what does the word Ofan mean in Hebrew? Ofanayim is a bicycle because the ayim suffix means two. What is an Ofan? Is a what? An Ofan is a way. It's a process. Like the way you do something is an ofan. Be'ez ofan nasa. It also means a wheel. Because a wheel, what's a wheel? A wheel is something that it proceeds, right? It moves. So the word ofanim would be like processes or way or some sort of. It just implies like something in motion or something progressing. That's all it really means. Okay, next word. Elim. This is a tough one. And there are actually mefarshim on this that don't know what to do with this word really. They know what the Rambam got it from a pasuk, but they don't really know what to do with this word. It seems it might have to do with a lion, like an ari, but it has something to do with the word el, which means might. It's a tough word to deconstruct. We'll leave it for now. The next word is a little easier. Chashmalim. What does the word chashmal mean? It's not saying electricity. There was no electricity when the Rambam wrote this, or when the Tanakh wrote this word. This word's from Tanakh. Why did the modern Hebraists why in modern Hebrew, the 20th century, did they call electricity chashmal? What does the word chashmal mean? Anyone know? It means energy. It means lightning, actually, in the Torah. In some places, because barak or chashmal can mean lightning, but chashmal means energy. Okay. Seraphim. We know this word seraphs, right? The word for angels. Seraphim. But what is the shorish of that? Obviously, it's the srof, to burn. Right, to burn. So seraphim would be like burners. Things, right? They burn things, or they burn themselves. I don't know what it is. They burn. There's something to do with burning. Next one is malachim. What does the word malach actually mean? A messenger. Good. Next one is Elohim. Next level of angels is called Elohim. It doesn't mean God. Elohim means powers. Right. But just like a court is also called Elohim because they have power. Next one is called B'nai Elohim. That's easy enough. So now B'nai doesn't mean children of, but it could mean secondary to, right? Secondary powers, or it could be derivative powers. B'nai Elohim. That would be probably the most accurate way of putting it. Power. What?
B'nai Elohim in Bereshit?
No. It's an excellent question. It's an excellent question, but I don't think that's what it means. In the Mar Nevuchim, he discusses that. It's a cool question. It's hard to know. In the end of Bereshit, it refers to these B'nai Elohim, who were like taking the girls, and it's a weird puzzle. Whatever. Okay. B'nai Elohim. Next we have Kruvim. What are Kruvim? Cherubs. They like have faces of children, they have wings, sort of bird-like things. It's Kruvim. What? Cupids? Oh, like those little babies with wings? It could be they look something like that. I don't know.
I got in my head.
Kruvim, fine.
That's a Greek.
The Christian influences on our lives. The Seder. Okay, wait a second. And then, Ishim. What does the word Ish mean? Man. Usually we say it for men, we say Anashim. But Ishim is obviously relates etymologically to the word man. Now, I'm going to run through these again very quickly, and we'll see, we can already pick up a pattern here. At the very top we had something that was separated. Chayot HaKodesh. What happened, man?
Oh, I need to get time on.
Chayot HaKodesh, holy lives. What was wrong?
No.
Micromanaging your life?
No. I gotta look at mine.
Chayot HaKodesh. Hey. What are you happy about?
What?
What are you so happy about?
Tylenol.
Tylenol.
I love judging myself. Puts me in a better place.
Oh, wrong guy.
You're on camera. Scratch that from the record.
Alright, let's go through these one more time very quickly, just so we'll see the pattern. We have Chayot HaKodesh, which are like holy or separate, I like that, lives, or beings, followed by something in motion, followed by a word Erel, which I'm not sure what it means, I'm just going to say I don't know. But then we have Chashmalim Srafim, those two obviously relate to each other, energy, burning, because you can have energy that doesn't burn, but then it's, I guess energy that burns is a little bit more physical. It has more physical effect. And then I have messengers, powers, derivative powers, cherubs, that's already a very physical image, and Ishim. I'd like to suggest that what you have here, at the highest levels, it's much more energy related. Fire, burners, processes, just generally, it relates much more to, it's much more abstract at the higher levels. And then in the lower levels, we seem to be getting into more physical imagery, Kruvim, Ishim. So without too, I don't know all the answers here, and this is obviously very esoteric, mystical stuff, but clearly there's a progression from the more abstract, more world of ideas oriented, more raw energy, getting more and more physical as we go. If you think about the unbridgeable gap between God, who is a pure spirituality, pure unity, to us, we are physical and disparate. And the whole point of angels, as we started out near the beginning of this year saying, is how God, who's this total non-physical unity, interacts and carries out tasks in our disparate physical world. So apparently what the Rambam's telling us is there's this kind of corporate structure where things get sent down through the system. The Rambam goes on to say that the malachim that prophets and people ever interact with are always ishim. They're always only interacting with the lowest level of malach. Those are the malachim that interface with this world, with us. That's what the Rambam says. No malachim at a higher level ever interface with anyone down below. That's what the Rambam says in the next couple lines. He says, Ishim Hema Malachim Medabrim V'Nevi'im V'Nirim Nevuah. When someone has a vision and they see a malach, it's always Ishim. Always, 100% of the time. Ishim are the only malachim who interact with us. Now, what about Gavriel, Michal? Who are they? So the answer is that's the name of the energy that's flowing through the pipes. What the Rambam is describing is the levels of, we could call it dilution, or we could call it processing of the energy from God down to the physical world as it gets more and more physical and more disparate until it can interact with this world. Okay, so to use the corporate structure example, I have a CEO, and let's say there's a few vice presidents in the company who are directly under the CEO. There's a guy who's in charge of marketing, and there's a guy who's in charge of sales, and there's a guy who's in charge of, he's the CFO, he's the chief financial officer. Let's take the guy in charge of marketing. Under the guy in charge of marketing, he has some division heads. He has a guy who's in charge of direct marketing, he has a guy who's in charge of mass advertising, a guy who's in charge of television advertising, a guy who's in charge of cutting deals with other corporations, right? So, and then under them, there's going to be people in the graphics department and people there and people there. And then all the way down at the bottom, there's going to be a kid on the street handing out flyers. Okay? Now, everyone answers to whoever's above them. Meaning, what does that mean, answers to? The kid on the street handing out flyers was told to do that by someone. That means that his power to act came from whatever level was above him. That person's power to act came from whatever level was above him. And of course, as you go up the ladder, there's less and less people. Power is more and more centralized, and more aspects of the power is in one place. When you can finally get all the way to the top, the vice president in charge of marketing, all the different departments of marketing all derive their power from him, and he derives his power from the CEO. Okay? So, lahavdil elef alfei avdalos. Obviously, we're talking now in the godly realm. This world is full of all sorts of details that have to be interacted with. When God, who's a total unity and a total spiritual unity, interacts at a physical level with this world, God's essence goes through this kind of distilling and physicalization process to then come out the user end, as it were, and interact with this world. That process is this process of angels, of levels of angels, the Rambam is describing. The content of that energy passing through is what we'll call Raphael, Gavriel, Michael, energy, to carry out those tasks in the world. Does that make sense? Okay. That's our shir for tonight. I think that's a lot for our brains to handle, and we'll talk about this some other time.